But Dan, I know you're doing this is because we've talked about this offline and everything like that. Here's the big thing, especially with a lot of the technology folks. One of the big disconnects with money, preparedness, and everything else in any company is the disconnect between CISO, CIO, and the rest of the C-level team, right? The rest of that executive team and the board, because not identifying risk and not identifying the framework and where you're at along that road to become more secure tomorrow than you were yesterday is the ugly conversation that most companies don't want to have, because the business side says, hey, IT and security, that's a cost center. I don't get anything for that, right? And I think that all three of us have talked about it here before is what's the risk model, right? What's the risk? What's your risk tolerance, right? And whether it's the board saying, hey, we want to cut down on the amount of money we spend on IT and cyber, which I think, and you can tell me, I think that that argument is less and less, or that storyline is less and less prevalent where people are just flat out saying, nope, we need less cybersecurity, not more. I think they're probably going to say, hey, can you do what you need to do with X, or do we have to have X plus? They want to try to avoid X squared, right? And so
it comes down to, like, with a lot of business people, this is where us, typically as tech folks fail, is we don't talk a lot of times in the terms they understand. So when you start talking about, like the first thing, it's about business continuity. And so when you take a look at that is what are our capabilities to being able to function in 72 hours of not having something there. It's not so much necessarily the pandemic, even though we're in one right now, but it's what's the annual rate of occurrence. And this is where the business folks don't ask the right questions in those cases, because if they were to say, hey, what's the annual rate of occurrence for a pandemic? We could say, as of right now, it's every 2 years. Every 2 years, there has been another type of virus that's out there from a pandemic. So were we prepared from the business side? And I'd say the business people failed because they didn't answer that question. And sometimes those questions should be coming from the insurance company, because they're the ones providing, this type of insurance in order to have business continuity, which also means the regulators, all of the accountants, the CPA firms, they should be asking, what's your business continuity plan? Because this happens every 2 years. Then it's not just about being hacked or malware. It's what's the annual rate of occurrence for a fire? What's the annual rate of occurrence for an electrical outage? What's the annual rate of occurrence for a water pipe going? What's the annual rate of occurrence for a car accident at that intersection? Because all those things have a technology impact. And, I just happen to be in the luxury of, going to one of the best schools in the country to be able to start talking these business terms. But the business folks have been trained for years of talking about annual rate of occurrence because it's a business term in the insurance company. And yet they didn't even think to talk to the IT folks and the cybersecurity folks about that. So that's kind of the dilemma that we're in.
I think it's like we said before, there's a conversation where the CEO comes and says, hey, to the CISO or CIO, hey, are we good? Right? And that CISO says, yeah, we're good. Well, right. There's what you say, and there's what people hear, right?
Yeah. Well, like good compared to what?
You said, yes, we're good. You meant, he means, are we 100% protected against danger from a cyber perspective? And the answer is always no. If that's your question, the answer is always no, right? But what the CISO really meant is, hey, with the amount of money you gave me, what we know about the CVEs, the people I've gotten, everything like that, yeah, we're good. I'm not going to sleep too well tonight, or as long as I have a CISO title, right? Because it's if not when.
Right. That gets back to the annual rate of occurrence.
Right. And what am I doing against, and we've talked about this before. It's especially with cyber. It's like, hey, I don't care what your risk model is. Go do NIST. Go do something, but have something. Be able to show your work, right? And you go back to like basic math when you're a kid. Hey, I can give you partial credit if you show me your work. If you've got the problem and then there's an answer, and the answer is wrong, I can't give you partial credit because I don't know where the wheels went off the cart, right? When I was in college, it was one semester, and it was just basically it was a high-level physics class and then the math behind it. Right. And then you had those two classes, and then you had a recitation or a lecture bringing the two of them together. The final was one question, 27 parts. And you were graded as to when the wheels came off the car, right?
Yeah.
And I had a buddy of mine looked at the question, put his name on it. And this is back, they were still using mimeograph paper back there. Put his name on the paper and walked back up to the professor and said, I'll see you next semester. He basically said, I'll see you next year, because that was only offered in the spring semester. But it was daunting to him, right? That's kind of where we're at in a lot of ways with cyber. Is the business folks, a lot of them are not tech savvy, even leaders of tech companies, right? They might know the product that they're selling, but the function of protecting the core assets of the company from a digital perspective, they're not savvy on that. That's why you have a CISO or CIO, right? But again, it's like asking the right questions.
Sure.
My hallmark is, hey, show me your work, right? And of all the things I don't know, I'm going to keep asking. And even Dan, we were there, and you're like, hey, I want to do this. Why? I'm not telling you not to. I just want to know why. I want to learn, right? And I want to put everybody in a position as a leader to say, I want us to have full transparency. I want to know why. Not because I'm trying to put my thumb on you, but because I want to be a more informed leader about something that's not in my wheelhouse.